Hi there, folks. This is Sam Price with another episode of Probate Notes, and I have with me statewide known attorney who's well known for Heggstad Petitions. That's what we're going to be talking about today. I have with me Bob Bergman from the law office of Robert P. Bergman in San Jose. Hi there, Bob. How are you today?
I'm doing quite well. As I normally say each day, I'm alive, and that's always a plus.
That's
Keeps you-
fantastic. Another day above ground.
That's right.
Well, Bob, I want to get a little understanding of you and your practice. Tell me a bit about your background.
And I was actually born um, to an Italian mother in North Africa, and then adopted by my parents, my folks. My dad was a colonel in the Air Force, and he was stationed there with my mom and my two older sisters. And they found out that I wasn't able to be properly cared for, and they wanted a little boy. So they made arrangements and they adopted me. So Bergman's not my original name. Robert is, only it was Roberto. And they adopted me. They brought me back to the States. When I was 4.5, I became a citizen in El Paso County, Colorado, as my father was there, stationed there. And we moved around from duty assignment to duty assignment to Michigan and Colorado and Bermuda, and ended up in Virginia. And then my dad retired in Virginia and brought the whole family out to the Santa Clara Valley, popularly known as the Silicon Valley, although it wasn't that when we moved out here in the late 60s. It was still mostly orchards. But no one had any idea we would turn into what we are today, growing chips instead of growing produce.
So we were asking, what are they and how do they differ from a regular Heggstad?
Well, first of all, they don't differ in the sense that they're under the same section of the Probate Code. It's just when you go through like the line items of when it's appropriate, these appear like towards the end of that section, which means that they're kind of like the redheaded stepchild of Probate Code 850. They're hardly ever invoked, but it could also be used if the trust owns something that it shouldn't own, that it ended up in the trust and it shouldn't have ended up in the trust. It should have ended up over here with this person or these people because of different things that they did that caused it to land over in the trust, and it didn't belong in the trust. So you can go the opposite direction, not just getting assets into the trust or getting them into the trust or back into the trust because they shouldn't have been taken out, but also if something in the trust that really belongs to this person over here, you can use it to get a court order having that removed from the trust and turned over to that person there. And that really wouldn't be treated as a change in ownership. What it is really is it's a confirmation of who the actual owner is. So it's not, we're not transferring ownership from the trust to this person. We're getting a court order saying this property actually belongs to this person. But it's not that they receive it from the trust. It shouldn't be in the trust. It should be over here. And that could have been because, I'm just thinking out loud, that could have been because there was a contract. This person had a contract with the owner of the trust that said, when you pass away, the entire property is mine, kind of like a joint tenancy, but not really a joint tenancy. It's a matter of contract. But somehow it all ended up over here. This person's going, hey, wait a minute, that's supposed to belong to me, or half of that belongs to me. And so that would be the reverse Heggstad, not as common, getting something out of the trust that shouldn't be there. Much more common getting something into the trust that should have been in there, or you want it to end up in there. And so you show the evidence why it should be there without going through our glorious, incredibly inexpensive, not time-consuming probate process here in California. Which, by the way, having colleagues through Wealth Counsel all over the country, they have affirmed regularly that our probate process here in California sucks big time.
Bob, what do you find are some of the biggest misconceptions or myths about Heggstad petitions?
Maybe the biggest misconception is that it's an easy substitute for doing lousy planning. It's like, oh, well, I'm not concerned. We can always do a Heggstad. And a lot of people think that it's an automatic thing. Like, oh, well, this property was left out of the trust. Well, a Heggstad, we can just get it into the trust. But there's as I've outlined, there's very specific legal requirements for the court having the authority to grant a Heggstad. And if you're missing the crucial written evidence of intent, the court has no authority. And kind of as an aside as well, I had a matter, gosh, I'm thinking about it now, is back when the justice in San Mateo County who retired, and that was actually a new judge took over on Prop 19 implementation day. One of those days that shall remain in infamy, February 16th, 2021. We all know it. New judge took over in San Mateo. Prior judge, I went in to do a Heggstad because we had real estate here in San Mateo County. And I thought, we're good to go. Problem was that the decedent was a resident of Virginia and had a Virginia trust. And the judge said, and we actually had a hearing on it. The judge said, I'd love to be able to grant your petition for you, Mr. Bergman, but the decedent's trust is governed by the law of the Commonwealth of Virginia, not California law. And there's no authority to do a Heggstad under Virginia law. So I'm going to have to deny your petition, and you're going to have to probate this asset, do an ancillary probate of the asset, which wasn't horrible. Because San Mateo County, once you go through the probate process, you can do the final petition ex parte and go up and get that filed and signed off the same day. So that saves you 2.5, 3 months on the tail end. But he was very straightforward. He said, I just can't do that because I have no jurisdiction here in California. I can't, it's Virginia law. I can't apply our law to an asset that is governed by Virginia law. So there we go. Which kind of raises the question, and I've been mulling this over in my mind, can we put things into our trust that give the trustee the ability to apply the laws of a state where real estate is located, for example, if the trustee deems it to be advisable without decanting? It's kind of floating around in the back of my mind. But it's really something that other states should consider for people that own property in California. We have this tremendous tool called the Heggstad, and Nevada has one that's almost identical to ours for Nevada real estate, Nevada assets. They have that because they basically stole ours. Most Nevada law is stolen from California. Stole is too strong a word. They get together, the legislature gets together, a few months every year. They say, what did California do? Let's look at it. Oh, that sounds good. Why don't we put that in our law? A little in favor, aye, okay. And then they direct their staff, figure out where this fits in our revised statutes, and then show it to us. We'll vote on it, plug it in. Okay, let's go gamble. That's pretty much the vow. They have a part-time legislature, which we probably need here in California. I would be happy if they met 1 week out of the year. Give them their full salary, give them their staff, but let them only be 1 week out of the year. We'd probably be better. But that's probably the most common myth is that a Heggstad can wave a wand and solve all those problems. But there are those specific requirements that it has. And a lot of people have heard about it. And people, I don't even know what people think it means. I am finding, though, that people who are contacting me directly to do that, they're not being referred by an attorney. They're being referred by title companies, or they read about it. How do I get my mother's property into her trust when she didn't title it properly? And now with the large language model searches going on, they're coming back with things saying, well, in California, you might be able to file a Heggstad petition. And that's how people hear about it for the first time.